So what we're looking at here, this is actually 2 or 3 days after. Look at all the sand that's left behind, all the media blasting. The parking lot was so filthy that it took a week to clean it up. Weeks to clean it up just so we can work in the shop. We're walking around the car here looking at the job, and there's nothing different than sandblasting. A matter of fact, sandblasting would actually be better to do to your car than actually this dustless blasting procedure. We're looking under the car right here, and I'm trying to focus in on the dust, or should I say, yeah, I'm using the word dust here, the sand. Okay, I don't care what anybody says, this is sand. But the sand was caked on this car so thick. Here we are zooming in. If you look at the axle housing, you can see the caking of the sand that is left behind. This is a pile of sand that the guy that, look at the shop, it's just filthy, 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 dirty. And let me go ahead and explain something. He didn't do any blasting inside my shop. Everything he did was outside. This was all carried in by the wind. We had Limpy blowing the shop out. I believe he blew the shop out probably 7 or 8 times. While he was blowing the shop out, I went ahead and took my water hose with a heavy-duty squirter, and I was under the car for approximately an hour washing the caked-on sand that was left from the dustless blasting. They call this dustless blasting. I don't see how this can be any different than sandblasting. To me, sandblasting is a much better procedure if you want to get your car done this way. I'll also go ahead and mention that several of the body parts that he dustless blasted warped. That's right. Look at here we go right here in the shop. We're kind of zipping through all this, and I want you to pay close attention here. We are actually out here covering up the sand piles that Mr. Dustless Blaster himself left behind because he wouldn't clean his mess up. He left us to clean it up, and it took me and Norm approximately 3.5, 4 hours to clean the parking lot up, sweep it up, scoop it up, shovel it up, and then the guy says, well, go ahead and throw it in your front yard. Throw it in your front yard, and then grass will grow up. Well, that didn't happen. That didn't happen at all. Because what happened is every time the wind would blow, sand would blow into my shop and onto my parking lot. And this is where I bought 42 bags of dirt over at Lowe's. Now, Minnie's really pissed off right here because I had to buy this dirt to cover it. I couldn't believe it. It was a real mess. And this is where we go outside. Now, we've already seen part of this video in part 2. But the reason I pulled this car outside is because the dustless blaster guy that did this job, look at the lightning, yeah. You can see it's getting ready to rain. But he said up and down, oh, yeah, I could do this in the rain because it's WATERJET dustless blasting. So it ain't going to hurt anything if I blast it if it starts raining. And I said, are you sure? You're going to stay here until it's done. Now, at this time right here, it was probably about 9:30, 10 o'clock. And he's blasting away. And as he's blasting the car, it starts to sprinkle. And I walked up to him and I said, are you going to blast this car and stay here? Because, we already started this and it's probably going to rust if you don't stay here and finish it. And he says, well, water ain't going to hurt it because this is dustless blasting. And when you dustless blast a car, it doesn't rust. Look at the mess on the floor. I mean, there's about on the concrete. As you're watching him blast, you can see it looks like water, but the particles of sand or whatever he's using is there, believe me. The mist that you're seeing is not water mist. What that mist is the sand that has not, oh, son of a bitch, look what we got. Raining like crazy. he was protecting his sand. He said, this stuff's worth gold. I got to cover it up. So him and Gimpy had to go outside at the raid and cover it all up because he was so scared that his sand. I want you to pay close attention here. Okay, we're going into the next day. We can't pay close attention. He had about 50 bags of sand left over on his car. And look at the mess that he left behind. That was from the first day. The first day that he was here, this is what he did to my shop. Now, if he was a professional dustless blaster, he would have said, we need to do this out in the back. We don't need to do this in the front. Because when you hear the word dustless blasting, you're thinking to yourself, there's no dust. There's nothing. It doesn't leave any residue behind. It doesn't leave nothing. But look what happened to the car. It's completely rusted. I had a talk with him in my office, and he tells me that to clean the mess up, we usually make plans beforehand. So basically what he's telling me is, we didn't make no plans, so it's your responsibility to clean the mess up. Basically is what he's saying. I asked him about the mess, and he tells me, he says, well, I got 2 big shovels, and I also got a big commercial broom. And, that's telling me, like, so what are you going to do? Loan that stuff to me so we can clean your mess up? I want to go ahead and explain to everybody else that this little procedure that you're watching here, the job that you are seeing, was supposed to cost $500. He said it was $550, and then he said it would cost another $150 to do the little body parts. Filthy job. Look at this. Look at the sand out there. It's just... And here's Gimpy explaining to him. He's trying to tell him, look, dude, why should we clean your mess up? But he's, of course, making up excuses, and, it's not my responsibility to clean the mess up, even though I worked on your lot and you're paying me to do this job. No, it's not my responsibility. So anyway, yeah, a real professional guy here that he was coming over to my shop. I don't think this guy ever sandblasted a car in his life. I'm sorry I said sandblast, dustless blast. I don't believe that he ever dustless blasted a car. This was the first time he ever did it. And he really took it to the extreme by coming over here and taking us for a ride the way he did. It took us approximately 3 or 4 hours to clean that big giant mess up while he sat on his ass watching us. He told us that he had vertigo. Believe it or not, Gimpy had to finish the job. About 2.5... Yeah, there you go. He just showed us the broom that he had. About 2.5 hours into the job, the second day, when he came back, he came up to me and said, I have vertigo. I have vertigo, and I can't get under the car, and I can't sandblast it for you. So what are we going to do? So Gimpy, of course, gets his machine and does it. He gets under the car, and he dustless blasts, sandblasts the car. It's just ridiculous, that this turned out to be the way it did. So there's the car. We got Larry that came over. Of course, he wasn't no big help. All he did is clown around and make fun of it while I was trying to be serious about the mess that this guy left behind. In this little picture here, the guy actually left. After our little meeting in the office, he leaves. He leaves for 3.5, 4 hours and didn't come back. He left his stuff here. He said he had to go to Northern Tool to buy some more media blasting, which I called Northern Tool up, and they don't sell any glass beading material. All they sell is sand. So the guy lied to us right off the bat. And, yeah, okay, Larry. Sure thing. Larry the Clown Act telling us that, it's all my fault because I hired him. Well, when you hire somebody to do a job that is supposed to be a professional and he rolls on your property with this big $60,000 rig, you take it at granted of it that he knows what he's doing. To this day, there's still sand out there. Look at Gimpy. This is actually the second day. Sand everywhere. Now, I want to show you how professional this guy is. Watch close. He doesn't even hit the trigger and turn the machine off. He just keeps it running. All that mist that you see in the air, all that mist, okay, that is not water. That is sand or media or whatever he's using, blowing out of that thing and going in the air. And pay close attention to this guy. He doesn't even have a respirator on. He doesn't have nothing covering his face. No type of protection at all. He's just sucking it in, breathing it in. And then here I am cleaning the mess up and finishing the job because he had vertigo. He had vertigo, and he had to go ahead and let us finish the job using his equipment. And no, we did not get the Mustang sandblasted. So,
what's the situation? What's the conclusion of this little situation called WATERJET dustless paint removal, dustless blasting, whatever you want to call it? I'm going to go ahead and take some inserts that I found. I've done a lot of research on this, and I'm going to be honest with you, this stuff is very highly dangerous to your health. Now, when I say highly dangerous, I'm talking about the mist that you saw blowing out of this guy's machine. This is not designed to do in a parking lot where there's other people around, or should I say in a closed area such as my driveway that you just saw. Did I tell you that it took us approximately a month and a half to clean our office up? I didn't say that, did I? But anyway, the risks, health risks that you take, and I'm going to go ahead and read this. It says, abrasive blasters use breathing protection to keep dust, heavy metals, and other harmful particulate matter out of their lungs. Now, did you just hear what I just read? Heavy metal? Okay? So when you're doing this dustless blasting or sand blasting or whatever you're doing, the stuff that is flying off of the car from the impact, okay, from the impact of the water hitting the car, it's bouncing back at you. Does that make any sense? So all of the particles and all of the material that is being removed from the item that you are WATERJET blasting is being bounced off and into you. Now you tell me how it can be healthy not to use a respirator or protective equipment while doing a job like this. If the manufacturer claims the system is dustless or dust-free, but does not recommend blasting with silica sand, you should be skeptical of their claim. Why else would they recommend using anything other than the most effective abrasive, which is silica sand? Because there is a disease called silicosis. And when you breathe that in, it causes very, very harmful danger to your health. It says here that approximately 100 deaths per year in the U.S., according to the CDC. What is CDC? Let's go ahead and find out. CDC is Centers of Disease Control and Prevention. Okay, they claim that over 100 deaths per year are caused from silicosis, which is breathing in, such we say, sandblasting, dustless blasting, or any type of abrasive blasting that is caused by machines like the machine that you saw used in the video set. Protect yourself, all right? Before investing in vapor abrasive blasting equipment, ask the manufacturer to provide an air quality report authorized by a respected neutral third party. I actually called the company up. They said that they don't have any type of reports and that if you want a report, you can get your own. I also talked to the company and that sells these machines, and the company told me that the machine that you saw on that truck cost $49,000. Now, I will say that the video set that I had up before this one, because I actually had to reload the video set up, I got a copyright notice on the name. They actually have the name Dustless Blasting copyrighted. Now, I made it very clear and understandable with the company that I can use the words Dustless Blasting in a verbal use, but we cannot use it in a written use. Now, he also told me that to use their name after you buy their machine, now they want you to buy their machine for $49,000 or whatever it was, $46,000. If you want to use the words Dustless Blasting, you have to pay them another $11,000 or $12,000 because they pay millions and millions of dollars every year in advertising. I also did research on their advertising, and this is what the real kicker is. They probably do pay a lot of money in advertising because they hire these reality TV stars and these celebrities to do their advertising, which is basically not a Y2K compatibility type of advertising scheme, because everybody knows that if you see a celebrity or reality TV star promoting a product, that means they're getting paid for it. And anytime that there is a review or a promotion on a product and the person doing the promotion or the review has nothing but good stuff to say about it and never says anything bad about it, is a sign that they're getting paid for it. So when you see these celebrities promoting products such as this Dustless Blasting operation, they're getting paid to do that. So of course they're going to say, it's the best thing in the world. Oh my God, look what it did. And this, that, and the other. What you saw in my video is what happens when you have this type of abrasive blasting done to your property. Right after we got done blasting the car, approximately 2 weeks later, me and Nitpick Norm got a call from a guy over in Flower Mound. He actually watched the video and he said, hey, I had this car dustless blasted and it's been sitting in my garage. It was actually, I think it was a 1965 Cadillac or something like that, big giant car. And he says, can you come look at it? I need to get it in primer because it's starting to get surface rust on it. We go over to look at this car, and I wish I would have took my camera with me, but the guy lived in a high-end neighborhood, and I didn't think he'd go for it. But we go over there to look at this guy's car, and I couldn't believe what I saw. First of all, I asked him several times, are you sure you had this WATERJET dustless blasted? And he said, yes. Yes, they came over. They wouldn't do it in my parking lot. So we went down the road, okay, and behind his house was this big giant Corps of Engineers field, and they went out there and did it because he didn't want to do it in his neighborhood due to the sound quality. And I said, thank God you didn't do it because your house would be full of sand. So he said that when he got the car back, he put it in his garage, and the guy promised him it wouldn't rust out. Well, it was starting to get a little bit of surface rust, but it really wasn't surface rust. But the surface of this dustless blasting is an exact replica of sand blasting. Now, I don't care what anybody says. You can sit there and say that there's no dust, it's dust-free, and this, that, and the other. It's not. All right? It is not dust-free. The end result is worse. I'm going to say it one more time. It is worse than sandblasting because you are mixing water. You're mixing water with sand, which is forming a cake, okay? It is forming a solid compound, and then you are blasting it onto the product that you are trying to preserve or whatever you're doing. And the end result of this item is that you will have sand, all right, because that's what I'm calling it, sand. I don't care what you say. It's sand. Glass is made out of sand. We're going to call it sand. Is caked, and I'm not even talking cake. On the car that we had sandblasted, yeah, you got the picture. The car that we had done, the Camaro, you saw me getting under the car with a water hose and washing that stuff. That wasn't all. We spent approximately 5 more days with wire. I went over to Harbor Freight and I bought $35, $40 worth of wire brushes, different kinds, sizes, and shapes. And we spent 4 or 5 days under this car getting all this sand off this car. I would have rather have taken it down to my buddy at Abel's Sandblasting and had him sandblast it. Like I said, we were over at, and this leads into the Cadillac. We're over at the Cadillac guy's house, and I'm looking at his car, and I'm checking out the panels. I'm looking at the roof line, and I'm looking at the hood. And I asked him, I said, is this the original hood? And he said, no, the original hood had a little bit of surface rust. That's an aftermarket. That's a junkyard one that I bought on eBay. And I said, well, you know this hood is warped, right? And he goes, what are you talking about? And I ran my hand across it and I said, do you got a level? And he gave me a level. It was a 4-foot level, and he couldn't realize what I was talking about when I said warped. He said, how can it be warped? There's nothing wrong with it. When I got it, it was mint condition. I took the level and I set it down on the hood, and you can see the lines that were going, and you can see that it was warped, and then on one side it was dipped under, and the same thing with the roof. Now, a Cadillac, 65 Cadillac, is a big, giant, long car. And he was like shocked, he couldn't believe it. I said, well, I'm going to tell you what that's from. That's when you got your car dustless blasted by the high pressure of the machine, and then using sand caused that to warp. So as far as fixing that, there's no way that I can fix that flawlessly perfect. Now, when I first went over there, I was only going to put the car in primer, epoxy primer, to protect it, and then we started talking about painting it. Well, the guy said, okay, well, I'll get back with you. He never called me back, okay? He never called me back. We never did the job. Thank God. I really didn't want to do it anyway. This leads into the car that he did for us. 2 of the fenders and the deck lid on the Camaro were warped. They were warped. And it was from the sandblasting. It's the same thing. The only difference is they're using water. Now, when they say dustless, doesn't mean that you're not going to get dust. They're trying to tell you that there's nothing in the air when you do it. It's clean. It's beautiful. You can stand out here right in front of the machine and breathe it in. It's a fucking lie, is what it is. I will never have that done again. It is a waste of money. And if you have an old classic car, I'm going to tell you right now, the only way that you should have that thing blasted is soda blasted. All right? Soda blasted. That's what we had done to the Mustang. We had the Mustang soda blasted. Came out beautiful. No problems. We took a water hose. We washed it off. We took some soap, washed it off, rinsed it off again with water, and it turned out great. So, that's the conclusion. That's my theory on this dustless blasting. I am not a paid actor. I am not a celebrity. And what I am telling you is facts, not fiction. All right? This WATERJET blasting might be good to take paint off of a brick wall, or maybe to strip down a piece of plate steel. But as far as getting an automobile done, especially a classic vintage automobile that's probably worth a lot of money, I don't believe that it is a good idea. You saw the mess that was left behind that we had to clean up. He didn't clean it. The job started out at, I think it was $650. I ended up paying over $1,200. And all I have is bad feelings of the situation. Now, this is the other conclusion that I'm going to go ahead and say, because I've said a lot of bad stuff about dustless blasting, and now this is the good thing that I'm going to say. The guy that came over to my shop and did it was probably inexperienced and didn't know what he was doing. I believe that that was the very first car that he ever dustless blasted. I don't believe that he used glass beads or whatever they call it. I did call Northern Tool. They don't sell any type of blasting media except sand. When he left my shop that day after our meeting and left us stranded here for 4 hours, he had 20 or 30 bags of sand on his truck. And I know it was sand because I'm not stupid and I can read. All right? And it was bags of sand. It was not special glass bead media. But the reason I probably have a bad feeling about this, and I'm sure there's a lot of dustless blasters out there that have done this thousands of times and know what they're doing. And the reason I had a bad experience is possibly because the guy using the machine didn't know what the hell he was doing. But when you are representing a company that claims to be this, that, and the other, and better than cream cheese on a chocolate cake, you should not wear their shirts, you should not have their stickers on your truck, and you should not be promoting the company when you don't know what you're doing. Now, once again, I will never have anything dustless blasted. The aftermath of dustless blasting is a horrible fiasco of a mess, and it's nothing different than sandblasting, in my opinion. This is Pete, my friend Pete, your friend Pete, over here at SWRC, Southwest Rod and Custom. We are celebrating our 38th year in business now. 2 more years, it'll be 40 years. Hopefully we'll be in Moab, Utah by that time. I'm sure we will. We're getting ready to start building our shop this spring. Once the shop's built, it's pretty much a downhill situation. And we're really considering and thinking of opening up a DIY auto school, which is do-it-yourself automotive school, where I take you through all the steps and procedures of everything from start to finish. It's going to be a 7-day course. And if you're interested in that, let me know or leave comments below and let me know what your feelings are about that. But as far as dustless blasting goes, you can bank on it. We won't be showing you how to do that. We'll see you later. Take it easy. And wow, what a big mess. That's all I can say.